and welcome to the program. Today marks the 203rd anniversary of the birth of Taras Shevchenko, who is known as the foremost Ukrainian poet, writer, painter, and playwright of the 19th century. We're joined today by Petro Fedinsky, a Ukrainian-American who translated into English Taras Shevchenko's colossal book, The Kobzar. Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Fedinsky, my first question would be, what urged you to translate such a great work by Taras Shevchenko as Kobzar? What is the reason behind this huge amount of work you have done, and why did you choose the Kobzar in particular?
Well, I read the Kobzar when I was in Moscow. I was Voice of America bureau chief there. And as I was reading it, I saw that it's a very relevant work. Everything that he was describing seemed to be happening on the streets of Moscow. When I visited Ukraine, I saw many of the realities that he described also relevant to Ukraine. And what happened was I had about 3 weeks left in my tenure. This was June of 2010, early June. And I took a long walk around western Moscow, across the river to the other side. And I was coming back and looking at the Shevchenko monument in front of the Ukraine Hotel on the Moscow River, which was about 7 minutes from my apartment. And just this feeling came out of the clear blue sky, bathed my chest, and it said, translate. And that's exactly what I did. I rushed back to the apartment, pulled out my laptop, and had to finish it.
So how long did it take you to translate the piece?
Well, it's hard to say precisely. I knocked it off from beginning to end in 9 months, and then I took a 3-month break. And then I spent 18 months editing, and then I had to get the images for the book and do all the technical stuff, layout, deal with the publisher. So the whole thing, start to finish, was 3 years.
Oh, okay. Well, clearly, Taras Shevchenko is an outstanding figure in Ukrainian literature. Could we say that he is also an outstanding figure in the history of Ukraine?
Oh, no question about it. Some credit him with saving the very idea of Ukraine. Ukraine was an enslaved nation. There were millions of serfs. They were the property of other people. The language was repressed. The people had no opportunity. And he came at a time and said, this language is beautiful. These people are equal to anyone else. And the beauty and the power of his message lifted the people up. Peasants would memorize his poetry in his lifetime, and it went from one person to another, and it lifted the spirits of Ukraine, and it can be said that he saved the Ukrainian nation.
It is believed right now that in his poems and his stories, Taras Shevchenko left some powerful messages for Ukrainians that live in Ukraine right now. Would you comment on that? Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. The Kobzar, from beginning to end, is filled with very relevant topics. The powerful exploiting the weak. Let's say he talks about so-called panichi.
Yeah.
These are young lordlings, the children of a privileged elite. Today you have majority. Same thing.
Yeah.
Young, wealthy kids that get away with pretty serious crimes simply because they're connected. He talked about the power vertical, and he satirized it in his poem called The Dream. The power vertical exists today. If you're a somebody, then you can get away with stealing and crimes. And he talks a lot about serfs. He himself was a serf. He was owned by another individual.
Yeah.
Well, today, people have no right to sell their land. So, if an old grandma has the title to land, but she can't sell it, well, then she's tied to the land. It's a serf. She's a serf. They continue to demean the language. There's widespread trafficking of women. And Shevchenko talks about rape and abuse of women by the elites. Let's take the Caucasus. Caucasus, he wrote a very famous poem called The Caucasus about the situation in Chechnya. And Chechnya is still in the news as a war zone with Russia. So
exactly.
There's more and more.
Okay, and as every lover of literature, you, of course, have your favorite pieces by Taras Shevchenko. Could you share with us?
Well, I'll tell you quite honestly that I like them all. And I'm not just making it up. Every poem that I translated was my favorite, so it's the last one I read. But, perhaps I can read one of his very famous poems.
Please
which,
do.
School children learn in school, and people around the world know it if they're of Ukrainian descent. It's called Zapovit, or Testament.
Yeah.
So, when I die, then bury me atop a mound amid the steppes' expanse in my beloved Ukraine, so I may see the great broad fields, the Dnipro and the cliffs, so I may hear the river roar. When it carries hostile blood from Ukraine into the azure sea, I'll then forsake the fields and hills. I'll leave it all, taking wing to pray to God himself. Till then, I know not God. Bury me, rise up and break your chains, then sprinkle liberty with hostile, wicked blood. And in a great new family, a family of the free, forget not to remember me with a kind and gentle word.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us. I will remind you, together with us was Petro Fedinsky, Ukrainian-American, who translated the colossal work of famous Ukrainian writer Taras Shevchenko, The Kobzar. Goodbye.